The Butt Kicker Gamer 2. What you see and what you hear is what you feel. Butt Kicker. The future is feeling.
Hey there, I'm Nicholas Dubois, co-founder of Advanced Sim Racing. We are a Canadian company. So what we did here today is for a real petrol head. He's really passionate about cars, as you can see behind me. We did a turnkey solution for him based on his needs. We try to gather as much information as we can on our client. And like we did today, we install a D-Box system. We install ultra-wide cube control steering wheel. We try to provide the best quality for your budget. So let's say if you want a budget of 10 grand, we're gonna give you something that's the best for 10 grand. If you want 20 grand, then we always try to stay within your boundaries. We do try to make it as easy as possible. So the client, once we install everything, it's pretty much gonna be a turnkey. So he's gonna press start on his computer, and right after, we'll try to explain everything, how it goes, how it works, and then he's ready to go. Our aluminum is from USA, treated in Canada, cut in Canada. So we do sand all our aluminum piece just to make sure the powder coat sticks to it. And that's one of the reasons why we use powder coat, is to make sure you have the best aluminum finish in the industry. And our quality is beyond what you can get with any other competitors right now. We are really, really passionate about all the gear, all the cockpits, all the sim hardware, and that's why we want to create something that's really gonna reflect our passion into our product. Come visit us at advancedsimracing.com. You can always reach us if you have any questions. You can call us, you can text us, you can go on Facebook, like our page, ask us questions over there, and we'll make sure to answer every questions there is. We are very passionate about what we do, and we try to make it as easier for you to go into the sim racing world, because there's a lot of gear, there's a lot of options, but let us guide you through your process, and let's hope you'll be an Advanced Sim Racing customer.
Good evening and welcome to the Precision Racing League NASCAR Cup Series here at Pocono. This unique racetrack is going to play host to round 5 of Season 3 as we reach the halfway mark after tonight in this championship, which of course is currently being led by Trent Dingle. We're also only 5 races away from the playoffs after this one as well, so it's all to play for once again. My name is Ewan O'Leary. I'm alongside Taylor Burris once again for this race this evening. Taylor, one of the most simple ways to describe this racetrack, I suppose, is unique, but there are many other ways to describe it, of course. But it's a challenge for everybody. Only 3 corners around here, not doesn't really fit into any category. It's completely on its own.
It's all the tricky triangle for no other reason than here at Pocono Raceway. 3 uniquely different corners based off of 3 unique racing circuits across the United States, and each and every single one of these corners provides a unique aspect with racing here, especially with the NASCAR next-gen cars that will be racing here tonight. Of course, turn 1, you really want to try to carry as much speed in there. Turn 2, the tunnel turn, drivers are going to try to go as fast as possible. In turn 3, you want to carry as much momentum as you can in order to carry you down the front straightaway here at Pocono Raceway. A lot of drafting, a lot of 4, 5, even possibly 7 wide action here tonight is what we're expecting.
That's what we're hoping for, certainly, throughout the racing tonight. This is the schedule for the NASCAR Cup Series in Season 3 at the Precision Racing League. We're going to Indianapolis for our second of 3 road courses in just 1 week's time. You can see at the penultimate round there, also a road course, Watkins Glen, and a championship finale at Daytona, which is going to start to loom large in the minds of these guys, because judging by how close it is at the moment, as we're about to see, it's going to go right down to the wire. those last couple of races are not your kind of easy, your standard mile-and-a-half circuits where you can get used to it quite easily. You know, Watkins Glen takes a lot of perfecting around there, and then Daytona can be a lottery on occasion.
Oh, it certainly is. Daytona is definitely going to be that lottery card racetrack where we'll see who knows who will come out on top. Same thing with the road courses here as we take a look at the standings right now. Trent Dinkel is your points leader by 20 points over Joseph Hogard, and then it's a point difference between him and Joshua Daniels. Abner Acosta, Skip Gandy rounds out your top 5, actually tied for 5th with Tyler Justice.
Yeah, Trent Dinkel has been having a fantastic time of things over the last few weeks or so, with first, second and first in his last 3 weeks. He's been very strong indeed, as have private label Team Hype, as you can see here, just a 32-point advantage from them over Love Racing in the team's standings here so far this season, with that 335 point score for now. That is the Season 3 standings, by the way, not the overall team standing, which private label Team Hype are also leading ahead of Love Racing. We'll try and keep you on top of all of these different standings that are in this season, because we've got Season 3 and overall, of course. And this is what we are dealing with here tonight, as we are for all of the races. The Next Gen Cup cars are on show. Fixed setup because they're quite so new, and 4 tyre changes maximum to be made throughout the race in terms of the amount of sets that they actually have. Qualifying is what we're about to step into with the 90-minute race, or indeed the scheduled race distance to come here at Pocono tonight as well. But before we go any further, we should probably talk you through the sponsors and the people behind the scenes that make all of this possible. We're starting, of course, with VCO, broadcast partners at RaceSpotTV, especially helping us with the Precision Racing League coverage here this season, and it's great to have them on board once again for more stuff here at RaceSpotTV. Next, of course, is Advanced Sim Racing. Owned and operated by passionate sim racers, Advanced Sim Racing designs and builds the sturdiest and most durable aluminum profile simulation cockpits available in the market today. All PRL members also get a 5% discount on all ASR products using the Precision 5 coupon code. RaceLab helps you to improve your driving skills with model overlays, race statistics and native VR integration. You can get the best out of iRacing. Start using it now for free at racelab.app. Bookkicker products provide an incredible immersion and realism to every game. Feel every nuance and truly put yourself in the driving seat. And finally, Ninja Trader, ready to compete against the financial markets. Supporting over 60,000 users across the globe, Ninja Trader provides an award-winning trading software and brokerage services. Ninja Trader is always free to use for advanced charting, backtesting and trade simulation. Visit ninjatrader.com to get started with a risk-free trading simulator and start tracking your performance. Those are the sponsors and the companies behind the scenes, everybody behind the scenes that makes bringing you the Precision Racing League here on RaceSpotTV all possible, and for that we are very grateful indeed. Just in the final reaches of qualifying at the moment, I say final reaches, we've still got nearly 2.5 minutes to go, and not too many lap times on the board for the moment. It's James O'Brien who's currently leading those standings, but it will all change, of course. The 2 laps, as usual, for all of these drivers, but it's quite a long lap, so they do need a lot of the session. As we can see, riding on board, having a look at that very tricky final corner you were talking about earlier, Taylor. It's all about getting that run onto the front straight. Very important.
It certainly is here that we are watching. That is Trent Dinkel, who has just completed his qualifying run with a 54.208. Looking to see who else is out on the track. We have Josh Conker. There's the 07 also of Scotty Johnson, who are starting their way down into turn number 1. And as they work their way through here, you want to try to take as much speed and try to not run that high up. You want to try to hug that yellow line as best you can in order to hit that apex and then track out a little bit. So Scotty's got a little bit of work to do as we see what he can accomplish on this qualifying run. Josh Conker moves up to P3, as you see on timing and scoring. With a minute left to go, he's only going to get really 1 lap, I have to say, for Scotty Johnson.
Not much time left in this session at all. Oh, dear me, very close to the wall as well. Few people to tell you about in terms of those who aren't allowed to qualify due to the previous races stewards report and so on and so forth. Got Charles Sumner, João Guerra, Jose Medina, Ricky Barbary, Sean Powell, Adam Zemke, Pat Harvey and Eric Haag, all not allowed to qualify due to incidents in the previous race, which does make the field look rather small on the left-hand side of your screen, but it will be a bit larger when we actually get onto the race here in a few moments' time. And of course, we've got a couple of one from a previous race as well. Dan McLaren from a previous race wouldn't be allowed to qualify today either. Those do carry forward if you don't attend, by the way, so do have to be careful of those. But at the moment, it's no surprise to see some of the guys up towards the front. We've got Abner Acosta and Trent Dinkle on the front row together. James O'Brien and Conker alongside him. It's the usual suspects at this point. We're getting used to seeing these names. Be interesting to see where the likes of Hogard and Daniels are, if they're even attending here today, because there are another couple of drivers who are very strong but have not found themselves towards the front here.
No, they certainly have not, and it's going to be critical to see how this will come out to fruition for these competitors during this run that we're going to be seeing here. 80 laps, that's more than almost about another 20 laps longer than we see in the A Open series on the iRacing official side, and definitely almost double the amount of laps that we see on the fixed side. So going to be very interesting to see how drivers are going to be able to persevere and take care of their equipment.
It certainly will. We'll get a look in a few moments' time at that starting grid, so we'll show you everybody in the race here today and where they'll be lining up on this grid. Let's see, Abner Acosta alongside Trent Dinkle. We've already talked about those two very strong drivers indeed, and they'll be challenged by James O'Brien and Josh Conker. They'll be no doubt on the second row together. Skip Gandy makes it inside of the top 5 ahead of Danny Cervantes in the 25, and then in the 7th position, just behind those guys, it is Joshua Daniels in that 77. Did get a late lap time in there to make himself inside the top 10. He's on row 4 with Richard Reagan. Then it's the 84 of Waldo Walden and the 43 of Chris Hudson rounding out the top 10. Eric Papineau and Clayton Ham are on the 6th row together. Elliot Butler is in 13th ahead of Mike Witt. Then it's Robert Bissau Jr. rounding out the top 15 positions alongside Lou Christian on the 8th row. Tom Messi will be on the 9th row alongside Corey Precker in the 35. Then it's going to be James Durr and Tyler Justice for Phase 2 Chassis Works. Then it is Sean Powell. Pat Harvey will be alongside him. Charles Sumner in the 98, not allowed to qualify, but he will be rolling off on that 12th row alongside Byron McDonald in the 8. And then there's a few more still to come. Scotty Johnson will be with Mark Kalin next. Eric Haag, another one of those not allowed to qualify there with Adam Zenke. Steve Loving is there with Ricky Barbary as well as we reach the top 30 here in this field. And there's a couple more with João Guerra and Jose Medina making their way to the grid. So a lot of non-qualifiers in that one, but still a very tasty grid indeed. 32 cars. You can see them all lined up on pit road there, eagerly anticipating as you say, quite a lot of laps around here. It's going to be a long race, and it's going to try and squeeze it in the 90-minute window as well. But if we get a lot of cautions, then there's a high likelihood we will not see the 80th lap.
No, we certainly will not, because of just how long it takes to pace around here. And that's one of the talking points that every single iRacer who comes out to race the oval side here at Pocono Raceway as they head into turn number 1, that 14 degrees banking corner here, based off of one of the historical racetracks here in North America, Trenton Speedway, located up in New Jersey, State Fairground area. And of course, we'll see them try to work their way through this at much higher speeds, but if they're able to not get the good runs and have caution after caution laps here are over almost close to 2.5 minutes long around here, so it's just gonna eat up that time.
It really is, and we're gonna hopefully see a nice clean and green flag race for us to all enjoy, and we can get the full reach of the 80 laps here. But as you say, if not, then we will be seeing a time limit come into this one. It's 90 minutes or indeed the lap limit in these Precision Racing League NASCAR Cup Series races, of course. Just to tell you a little about the overall standings as well, just quickly before we get going. Of course, that is accumulating everything in 2022. The top 16 plus in points, plus the winners in a normal NASCAR format, will be making it through to the playoffs. That will be something to watch a little bit later on in this season, of course. It's always intriguing as we get down towards the end to see who's going to make the cut-off at the moment. At the moment, Eric Papineau is the 16th and final driver to make it inside of that round at 16, but he's got 6 races to hold on to that position, and with the win and you're in format, it makes it very, very nail-biting indeed. Pocono coming up then, 80 laps around this historic and wonderful racetrack coming up. The green flag is in hand, it's being waved in the air. We're underway here at Pocono. Of turn 1 they come, and it's side by side for the lead at the moment. Abner Acosta trying to hold on to that pole position he gained earlier, but it's Trent Dinkle just giving it to him at the moment and trying to put the pressure on side by side through turn 2.
The 4-car breakaway for the private label team Hype drivers. You have Richard Reagan, a former member of that team, right there behind in the 56 Toyota Liquid Moly team for the Phase 2 Chassis Works team as they work their way out of turn number 3. Dinkle and Acosta, who's going to lead lap number 1 as they come out of turn 3 across the front straightaway. Chris Hudson struggles a little bit with that as he makes contact with the 7 machine of Clayton Ham.
That was very close to being quite a big moment there for the 43, but gathers it up as we still have a bit of side-by-side action here. Trent Dinkle just going to the outside through turn 1 and not having that run. He did this through turn 3 on the opening lap, and now he's going for the over and under, looking to maybe get the slip down the inside here of the 5 car. Here he comes on the inside, and we might just have a change for the lead and a new leader at the end of lap 2 here. The two of them battle once again. Abner Acosta sends it very deep into the corner, and he's got a nice little run around the outside there. He holds on the high line. What a great opening couple of laps between these two.
Yeah, one thing to keep in mind when racing here, especially for these first opening laps, is you will not really be utilizing the brakes at all. If you play it out right, you can actually be utilizing just backing off your corners and just letting it coast through the middle of the corners here, especially with all 3 of the NASCAR series that have raced here at Pocono this week on iRacing. As we see now, James O'Brien look to the inside of his teammate Trent Dinkle as he sends it into turn 1. He gets the nose out, but Dinkle will come back on the outside with momentum, side-by-side battle for second.
He tried on the low line into 1, but there's no way through for O'Brien. He's going to have to stick back into line in that 3rd position, just allowed in by Richard Reagan Jr. You can just see in that 4th place in the background, he's gotten through on Josh Conker in that little fight early on in this race, but the top 5 certainly seem to be just edging away from the rest of the field. There's a couple of car lengths just in that one at the moment. They make their way through 3 for the 3rd time. And we look at Trent Dinkle, a face of concentration at the moment, trying to just chase down Abner Acosta, and what we're getting used to more and more these days with these next-gen cars. A lot more gear changes than what we used to see, and Pocono always did have, but certainly more so now.
Yeah, we're going to see these drivers downshifting in these corners. We saw it all across the NASCAR series this week at Pocono, but especially now with these next-gen cars where you really want to, in order to get a better run off corner exit, downshift it a little bit as we see them now sidewinding down the Long Pong straightaway, heading into the tunnel turn, based off of the 8 degrees of banking at the hallowed grounds of the next track they'll be heading off to, Indianapolis Motor Speedway, next Sunday night.
Now, they'll only briefly be on that banking, though, of course, for the road course racing we'll have there once again. Richard Reagan Jr. in the 56 down onto the low line through the final corner, and he's a slight straight up in front of James O'Brien for that 3rd place. It's a strong start for the 56 here, qualified in 5th position, already making up a couple of places.
Great drive indeed as they work down the front straightaway, heading back into turn 1. Here they come working their way through. Great drive by these 3 competitors now as Reagan has moved up to P3, but Dinkle and Acosta now going to line up nose to tail and try to see if they can pull away from Richard Reagan.
Yeah, it's all about, do you work together at this point, or do you indeed fight it out? Well, there's a bit of working together going on between the 5 and the 9. at this stage, although it's not really producing too big of a gap for the moment. A little bit further back, there's obviously side-by-side going on up and down the field right now, but I believe all 30 cars have gotten away with a very good start here. Scotty Johnson might be the only driver to have had some form of incident. He's quite a way off the back of the field at the moment, but for the most part, it looks like we've had a very clean start to this race, and we're going to complete 5 laps here almost without problems. A little bit side by side, a little bit further back, but it's all nice, clean racing up and down the field.
Very nice job indeed, as we have already run 6 laps here around the Pocono Raceway. Competitors still trying to jockey for position as we watch on out of turn number 1, heading down the Long Pond straight over towards the tunnel turn here. And as we keep an eye, everyone's just single file, not really jockeying for position. We know that there's a lot of racing still left to go here around this circuit, and now it's time to see how the tires are going to start to fall into place here, how the tires are going to be able to, you know, wear properly around this circuit, because you're not really utilizing that brake to help turn the car. You're utilizing your throttle input and how much throttle you actually back off in order to make these corners.
So a little bit of a look for those first couple of places there. Reagan and Dinkel were looking, showing the nose as we see some battles a little bit further down the field. I think Charles Sumner has actually had some, maybe some problems with him. Maybe somebody clearly has been dropping down the order a little bit. There's a bit of moving and shaking going on back here. Not too much up at the front, but this is where the real action is, between the 3 and the 45, just going side by side at the moment and avoiding that outside wall, hopefully on the exit of the first turn here as well. But you mentioned all of the kind of the almost different way and the different way you have to think about driving a cup car around here. How quickly are we expecting to see the tyres go off, and are we expecting 1, maybe 2 stops today? Of course, it matters when we get cautions, of course, but how far do you reckon these guys could actually go on a set of tyres and a tank of fuel?
Well, really, if they play it out right, we could see them break it up into a 1-stop or 2-stop race here. We might see the first round of pit stops happening around lap 30 to lap 40 for that first run, and then maybe try to stretch it out to where they top off at lap 40 and run all the way through. Or they could maybe have another pit stop somewhere in between after that lap 40 mark in order to have enough fuel, as well as make sure they top off properly.
Let's see how they tackle it, really, because it is a slightly longer race than what we see in some of the open and fixed series elsewhere. So something to factor in. But yeah, further down, there's just almost pack racing going on, as if we'd see at a super speedway. Of course, it's very different, but it is just equally as exciting at the moment, making their way down towards turn 3. The 96 right on the outside and almost right up next to the wall. So many different lines you can take through that final turn, and using that real speed off of the exit of the corner in the 96 to really roar on past a couple of these cars at the moment. Just down in towards turn 1 is going to be a bit of a problem, but there's so many different lines you can take through turn 3.
Yes, indeed. So many different lines that these drivers are going to be taking here as they work through the middle of turn 1, as they come out across there, heading down the short chute towards the tunnel turn. And drivers now trying to jockey for position and get themselves set up back down across into turn number 2 into the tunnel turn. Elliott Butler holding on to the outside as we see that 26 of Mike Witt trying to see if he can break into the top 10 for the first time tonight.
All the battle for 11th at the moment. This huge train, which is just showing no signs of calming down at the moment. Mike Witt is currently leading it, but takes a very almost slow and defensive line on the bottom of turn 3. Now over the line they go again. Witt's going to have some more trouble defending here for the likes of Walden, Butler and Powell. Justice making some progress, and almost a bit of bump drafting as well down the straight, trying to find any bit of space that he possibly can. These guys are racing hard for such an early on in this race, but then again, the races aren't very long. You've got to race this hard right from the very start, and these guys are absolutely doing that right now.
Certainly is, as we watch these drivers now work down here across this, and we're seeing Butler along with a couple other competitors just trying to make a good run out of this corner right here as they come out of this is course now turn number 2, heading down towards turn 3. And as they work their way through, drivers now starting to really open up and stretch it out to about 2 and 3 wide action across the field. Everyone up towards the front is single file for the most part. No one really pushing the envelope at this time up there at this moment. But we'll see how that progresses here as we see Sean Powell take a nose outside. He will try to see if he can complete that pass on Elliott Butler.
Maybe now is the moment. Low line into the first turn, diving it into the corner. All of these cars seem to be really on the edge, really diving deep into these corners, but it's still holding up for the moment. Still on that low line. Will Justice finally be able to, will Powell be able to finally get this move done in the 45? Inside of on the 26 through turn 2, and now finally the move's made. Very nearly contact as well with Tyler Justice and Mike Witt as well, as he just slows up on the exit of turn 2. That was so close. Speaking of close, it's fairly close for the lead right now, although as you say, they've kind of fallen into an agreement to not really race each other.
No, they're really not. And of course, one of the things here we can see happening around this time is drivers trying to save and conserve fuel here at this time. But one driver who's not is going to be Richard Reagan, as he'll look to the inside of Trent Dinkle for second place and complete the pass by the looks of it. As he moves up to P2, James O'Brien now tries to find that opening he needs as well to see if he can get into this mix for position.
Everybody just wanted a piece of this at the moment. Tyler Justice, by the way, in the 6th car, is in 6th place in the Season 3 standings, by the way. Only 32 points adrift from Trent Dinkle, excuse me. Here's this big defence from the 56, as he defends indeed from Trent Dinkle. Newly into 2nd place then, Richard Reagan Jr., making his way on through. Not been the greatest Season 3 for him so far, I have to say, for Richard Reagan. He hasn't scored points since Nashville, back at round 2, but certainly will be scoring a few today by the looks of things. Nice pass on Dinkle. The one thing I'm always concerned about with a driver who's making such progress early on in these runs is what is that going to do to their tyres late on? Are they completely going to fall off it towards the end of the run?
Certainly is, as we watch on and continue on this battle for second place as Dinkle gets a great run down the short chute heading in over towards the tunnel turn. You can carry so much speed, but you have to be careful. The car can get a little bit tight and actually wash up and hit that wall as you come off corner exit, and we've seen a lot of bad accidents happen through that section of the course.
We certainly have. There's no doubt about that. It's into the flatter final corner for this crazy group in the background. Tyler Justice involved with it, as I said earlier, and here comes Trent Dinkle again. Down the home stretch. Oh my word, contact. The car's getting connected. Door to door between Richard Reagan Jr. and Trent Dinkle, but they both make it through. That was a wild moment between the two.
It certainly is, and it's close racing action. These two have been teammates at one point and know how to race around each other, and they're really going to work together. Now as we see James O'Brien try to work with his teammate Dinkle to give him the shove he needs. Now he gets behind O'Brien as Reagan actually now gets ahead of O'Brien as they go through turn 2.
Still locked together, and Abner Acosta, well, can't really tell if he wants Trent Dinkle to go through here or whether he wants it to go on for as long as possible, whoever goes in front, but either way, He's got Dinkle in front now as the battle for 5th starts to just heat up slightly as well, with Joshua Daniels, the ever-consistent 77 car, making his way inside the top 5 once again. Overall points leader in 2022, Daniels, but still remarkable, he has not won a race this season. Maybe today is the day, but it seems like we've been saying that for the last 24 weeks of this season.
It certainly is, as we watch the battle for 5th between Joshua Daniels, who's holding strong currently right now over the rest of the drivers behind him. That, of course, being Danny Cervantes, Chris Hudson, and Josh Conker, who is actually up towards the front of the field at one point, but absolutely now struggling for grip and pace. Unless he's trying to save his tires right now for a longer run, he needs to try to get back up towards the front of the field.
It's all to, figure out in terms of that holding something back. Richard Reagan Jr. though does find himself going backwards a little bit. James O'Brien up to 3rd. We go back to this fight for, still the fight for 11th I think here, or maybe even a little bit further back. But either way, it is very much on as James O'Brien makes his way through now. Abner Acosta and Trent Dinkle slow down entirely, and James O'Brien makes his way through without argument at all. So that clearly looks very coordinated indeed. Tinkle and Acosta are also, of course, both part of the private label team hype. So is James O'Brien. Richard Reagan Jr. obviously is not. However, the three of them have got the rest of the field on strings at the moment, by the looks of things. That was very organised.
It certainly was very organized indeed as they watch on this battle single file for your top 7 as they now have bunched back up together as they come through turn 3. James O'Brien once again back up towards the front of the field. The former series champion will really get a good run out. Trouble for Acosta as he has a little bit of a scary moment there.
Very much contact with the wall there on the outside. It wasn't very hard, so it shouldn't have done too much damage, but it was certainly there. And Trent Dinkle is not going to need a second invitation to go down the inside. Acosta will try and hold on to third, but Joshua Daniels wants a piece of this now in the 77. And he might find himself inside the top 3 on the low line before long, although he's going to get hung out to dry a little bit on the inside hit. He's not going to be let back in either. Low line for him, and he is going to make his way through, but you've got to be so careful with that. I mean, you have anywhere, but especially here. Acosta there just pushing the limit through turn 3 as you need to, but that was just a step too far.
Step too far indeed as we watch them work their way through the middle of turn number 3 and then back out onto the front straightaway here. Acosta now is just trying to find the grip as we see Joshua Daniels get ahead of steam down the front straightaway as he will have some help by, it looks like, going to be Danny Cervantes and Chris Hudson, while Reagan Jr. will be behind Acosta as they head back into 1. Daniels will complete the pass.
Tinkle and O'Brien are being allowed to get away here, but Daniels has made his way through into third. He's getting stronger as this run goes on now into lap 18 of this race. Acosta is just going to have to try and survey the damage here and see where he's at. Danny Cervantes applying a bit of pressure there. Chris Hudson pretty anonymous so far, other than his real big moment out of the final corner on lap 1. He's been pretty anonymous so far, although he's right up there in that 7th position. Very high line there. Too high up, I'm afraid, on that occasion, so he loses out just ever so slightly, but Daniels is through, and Richard Reagan Jr. has got some big defending to do there. Danny Cervantes looked to the inside, but wasn't able, had the door shut.
Door shut indeed, and that's going to be a big run right there now for Cervantes as he's trying to get the run out of turn number 1. He's got help from Chris Hudson now as they come out of turn 1 down to short shoot over towards the tunnel turn. And with that is going to be some close racing action. Will we see Reagan or Cervantes show the nose as they enter into the tunnel turn? The answer is going to be no. They're going to go single file. But these drivers got to get themselves together because they have fallen off to almost a second away from James O'Brien and Trent Dinkle now, who's back up front.
It's all that battle that really opened that gap. Has Daniels got the pace in that car to close it up once more? Just eliminate that 1 second margin at the moment. Getting, of course, more spread out as we get towards the quarter distance in this race, which Danny Cervantes not slowing down whatsoever. Richard Reagan Jr. is going to get overtaken here. And Abner Acosta is even under a little bit of pressure as well in the 5. Nice switch back, though, by the 56. The over and under, getting back down the inside again, but won't be able to do it on that occasion. Chris Hudson looks pretty happy to stay behind, although he might go for it himself. Reagan is in a very difficult situation here. He got off to a great start in this run, but he's continuing to fall backwards now.
I think it's safe to say Reagan might have had put the tires a little bit too much to use now, and he is really showing it. Looking at his times, he is a little bit he's not the slowest car inside the top 10, but he is one who's been absolutely struggling for grip right now. And looking at the times right here, Ewan, we've already fallen off 2 seconds off of what our fastest time was, currently that being held by none other than Richard Reagan Jr. himself with a 54.31. His last lap, a 56.7. So it just shows that we are now already 2.5 to almost approaching 3 seconds off the pace.
And it really makes you wonder where we're going to be at lap 40 when these drivers will certainly have to come in, if not for the first time. then more than that, because what are the tyres going to look like at that point? Chris Hudson on the outside in the 43 there, making his way through on the high side, and this is going to be 6th place for him, as Richard Reagan Jr. is denied that one and falls to the back of this little group of 7 we've got at the front of the field right now. As it now has Joshua Daniels in that 2nd place, the 77 pacing this one very, very well indeed. So we obviously wonder once again, is today going to be his day? He's had 3 poles so far in this season, but never that race win. Always right up there. And there he is in 2nd place, just going through that camera shot right now. I was beginning to wonder actually whether we might even get some brave driver going in for 3 stops today, but that's definitely not going to happen unless there is a lot of cautions. The tyre drop off though here is very noticeable though, as he's saying. They'll be very eager to get these tyres off very soon, and it won't be too long until they can do so.
Certainly is indeed. As we watch on, this is a battle between the 45 machine and the 20 machine. This is a battle for P8 between Gandy and Sean Pouch. Tyler Justice in the mix, as along with Josh Conker, who has now fallen out of the top 10. So this is going to be an interesting battle to watch as we see the 2 Phase 2 chassis work drivers work together to get around Skip Gandy. Sean Powell tries to break the trap a little bit and work their way into turn number 1. Gandy now works to the outside and has a great run off corner exit, will complete the pass.
Yeah, Gandy is having a decent season so far. Top 5, 5th place, and 32 points adrift from Trent Dinkle at this stage, although might be about to lose out on some of those points, or one of them at least. Whereas Tyler Justice gets down the inside. Those 2 actually tied on points as things stand, with 129 from the first 4 races. That position now in the standings will go to Justice, both in this race and in the overall as well. But a lot still to play for. As I said earlier on, still only reaching the halfway mark after this race here for Season 3. So there's plenty of time for things to chop and change once again, and you can be very sure that they will. Trent Dinkle are very much in control, and if he continues to have these race-winning performances as he has done for the last 3 weeks now, then he's going to be very, very difficult to beat indeed. 20 points doesn't sound like a lot, but when the point system is the way it is, you know, you really start to understand, actually, that's a very big margin for us to try and close down.
It certainly is a big margin to close down here, but it can be done when we start seeing the pit stop cycles come into fruition for these drivers. But really, Joshua Daniels has been setting a blistering pace, keeping the same times as Trent Dinkle, actually, as we watch him make up time. Let's see what the times are when they come across the line here at the start-finish. And it's still going to be Dinkle with a 56.51 to a 56.55 of Joshua Daniels. So these 2 are going to be the ones to watch, as Acosta is also in the mix with staying in the 56.5s.
Our first pit stop of the day that I can see anyway for Mike Witt in the 26. I think we may have seen a pit stop or 2 for damage down in the pack, back in the lower reaches of the field. However, Mike Witt is the first driver to come down pit road and make 4 tyre changes on that car. You can be sure it's going to be very soon before we see all of these drivers coming in. You can't split this 80-lap race into 3 perfect segments, but lap 26, 27 is sort of the region if you want to split it directly into thirds, as some of these drivers may want to, but not for the moment. If you're in a real leading car, you'll be staying out there. I think there was, it was Josh Conker who was to the inside there, and here he comes in the 54. We've got pit stops, and it's going to be crazy on pit road for the next couple of laps.
Very crazy indeed, as another car has come down pit road, Josh Conker. So we might see drivers now break it up in quarter distance here in order to try to utilize all the tires, as well as also get plenty of fuel and not have to worry about stretching it out too far here, as we see Scotty Johnson, Conker, and James Dewar on pit road, who will be the next ones to blink.
Well, it's got to be pretty much everybody soon. You've got to react to those being behind you, surely. So let's see this time around as the 6 just stuck up on the outside at the moment. Tyler Justice, oh my word. That was Sean Powell just making a real dot across the road through turn 3 as we've got Trent Dinkle in, the race leader, on pit road after 26 laps, and James O'Brien follows him in as well. So Joshua Daniels has been allowed to stay out there and will lead a lap today. But that's a look at the new tyres and what they can do for you. The drop-off here is really quite large.
It certainly is, as Trent Dinkle and James O'Brien have come down pit road. As we'll see now the rest of the field, who else will come down next time by. Daniels and Acosta are going to be the next ones coming up towards the pit entrance. Of course, Josh Daniel has a 2-second advantage over Abner Acosta right now as they head over towards turn 3. We'll see what Daniels does as he comes out of turn number 3. As 57 has made mention, he is coming down. That's Adam Zemke. And here comes Daniels, and here comes Acosta, and here comes a couple of more drivers as well. Cervantes, Richard Reagan Jr., as Chris Hudson will lead a lap.
Locking the brakes just on the way in there for a couple of drivers in the background, but Joshua Daniels relinquishes the lead, and it's going to be Chris Hudson now for at least one lap who will be leading. And it's the 45 and the 6 still battling over second place a little bit further down. That was close to the wall. Not a great run down towards turn 2 for Tyler Justice as a result, but either way, he's managed to keep it out of the wall. Still plenty of drivers to come in though, and you do get the feeling if they can go to lap 40 on fuel, then there might be somebody willing to risk it. There's a lot of drivers who haven't been in just yet. Richard Reagan Jr. comes out in 21st at the moment. He's got a couple of drivers in front of him like Josh Daniels. But where's the likes of Josh Conker ended up after coming in a little bit earlier? You see, he's overtaken Danny Cervantes. That is how big the undercut is here, even though obviously it's one of the longer laps, but it's still not that long, only just under a minute. So that just shows you the tyres are making a big difference here.
It certainly is, as we're now seeing Chris Hudson on pit road. Sean Powell's the next car to lead the field with Tyler Justice. The two are going to see if they can stretch it out a little bit here, as they are now going to be approaching 30 laps on this run. And already we're seeing how quickly those who have already pitted are going up against those who have yet to pit. Already a 3-second difference between your race leader and one of the drivers who just recently pitted, such as Trent Dinkle with a 54.67.
Yeah, I mean, if these guys are going to do a one-stop, the likes of Sean Powell, Tyler Justice, Robert VCO Jr., etc., I would understand them staying out this long if they were trying to do this race on only one stop. However, I don't really get why they would stay out a couple extra laps there on older tyres, because they're going to lose a lot of track position. They're going to be running quite slowly, and you're not going to save a pit stop or anything, so you're just hurting yourself a little bit. Not entirely sure why they would do that, but either way, it's all part of the plan for those guys. There are the 4 drivers coming on to pit lane, but still 10 to come in for now. When it all shakes out though, Trent Dinkle is going to be leading. Then it's going to be James O'Brien. Joshua Daniels should be third. But you see, there's nearly 5 seconds adrift from Trent Dinkle, and it was only 5/10 before.
Certainly is, and it's going to be interesting to see how this will work out for them as we continue to log laps. Tyler, it's now Robert Bissoff Jr., who's now coming down pit road, along with Pat Harvey. Luke Christensen, Clayton Ham is going to stay out on the track. Waldo Walden coming down pit road. So we're now seeing pretty much everyone except maybe 1, possibly 2 or 3 drivers who have yet to pit. Eric Papanoy will stay out on the racing circuit. And what about Corey Precker? He will also stay out. So 3 cars yet to pit.
Not many left out there at the moment. Ham, Papanu and Precker at the moment, 1, 2 and 3. Then it's the 9 of Trent Dinkle and the 33 of James O'Brien. This is the fight with Abner Acosta and Richard Reagan Jr. The 56 going out hard in one of these runs once again. We saw this first time around. It's happening all over again. And the 5 of Abner Acosta is just going to have to put the brakes on, defend a little bit here. didn't score any points at the first round of Sonoma, didn't attend that race, but hasn't scored any lower than 43 points at a meeting so far. When you consider that there's 42 points for a win, it's very impressive. Of course, there's bonus points that he's been able to get in every single one of these races so far. However, Acosta has had a wonderful 2022, winning race after race after race, especially in Season 2, where he managed 4 in a row as part of his 7 wins so far this year. Seems to be struggling a little bit here at the tricky triangle, though, it has to be said. Down in 7th place at the moment. It will become 4th, you would imagine, a little bit later, but he's under a lot of pressure from the 56 at the moment.
He certainly is, and he's got to really be careful of how to conserve those tires before the next run of pit stop cycles. But later on here tonight, as they work their way towards the turn 2, got Chris Hudson right there behind in 9th position. Of course, we could see these three try to work together in order to catch back up to Joshua Daniels. As we'll see, Trent Dinkel will be your race leader once we see Ham, Papanoy, and Precker come down pit road, as Papanoy will stay out on the racetrack along with Clayton Ham and Corey Precker. But, of course, why they're stretching it out is possibly just to save a little bit more on as far as not having to put, not having utilized as much tires compared to the other drivers who are already out anywhere between 3 to 4 laps already on their tires. We can ride on board with Chris Hudson, and this can give them a benefit as well as they progress later into the run. We do have one retirement so far, that's Joao Guerrera in the 519.
Chris Hudson just with his concentrating face on at the moment. It also looks like he's angry, but he's just concentrating hard at the moment. Watching Abner Acosta and Richard Reagan Jr. go at it at the moment. This is for 7th place, and the low line for the 56 will be enough, and just slides up in front of Acosta there. Through turn 2 and into 7th place for Richard Reagan Jr. He'll try and chase down Joshua Daniels now, of course, but that's a nice job done. Chris Hudson will look to try and repeat that, but I do fear for Richard Reagan once again, because he went out very hard in the first run in this race and it came back to bite him. I just hope he doesn't make the same mistake.
He hopefully does not make that same mistake as they head back into turn 1. Great drive for Hudson as he'll look to the inside of Acosta as he continues to press forward, though Acosta stuck on that outside. Got to be careful with being on that outside lane. It can cost you valuable time as well as possibly even damage for your car if you hit the wall coming off corner exit.
Low line for Chris Hudson, although not a great run through there. It's a nice flowing outside line from Abner Acosta. And the 5 car's going to hang on here. Lap car, well, not a lap car, but Corey Precker on the older tyres involved here. He's going to want to get in the pit lane. He needs to get down onto the low line if he wants to go there. Oh, my word, you can just see the difference. These newer tyres for Chris Hudson were almost his downfall there, because Corey Precker just can't hold the same pace.
He is really struggling right now as we watch them head back into turn 1, but Precker really having problems right now. He has yet to pit, and this could be a big problem as we could possibly see a caution by how rough he is driving out there.
Yeah, shoots straight up the hill at turn 1. No way to get down to the yellow line there at all. Papinu is still out there as well, by the way. But we've seen one of the 3, was it Clayton Ham, I think, who just came in from the lead. Trent Dinkel either way in the 9 car is now leading. It's James O'Brien and Joshua Daniels 1, 2, 3. So we've got the top 4 all having made pit stops so far. Papinu, the first driver to have not stopped yet in this race. And Josh Conker, you can just see there in the 54, drops to 10th place. Might be suffering a little bit from his early pit stop. And that's where you've got to factor in really through the final stops that are coming up soon. How early do you want to stop to try and get a bit of an advantage as the 37 continues to fall backwards? I mean, fair play to Papinu for trying something different, but he's already been overtaken, I'm afraid.
He certainly has, and it's going to be a tough ride for Eric Papanou, especially on this run here, as he is currently staying out on the racetrack here. Yet to pit over 30 laps, coming up to 40, so he's going to try to at least do one stint now here, as we'll see what will happen.
See, the 21 just trying to keep tabs on everything at the moment. This is all the fight for 17th, I think, in the order as things stand. Just see Eric Hard going through that shot at the bottom there, but it's Elliot Butler just on the defensive at the moment from the 3 of Robert Bisson Jr. and a fantastic run from the 21 out of turn 3. The run of dreams here. Inside low line for turn 1 as Josh Conkers in again here. Not entirely sure why he's come down to pit road for a second time, even only on the end of lap 36. Straight down the inside there for the 21. Once again, must be newer tyres on at this stage, and that is what's quite so difficult to know what to say about these battles at this point, because you don't know who's on what tyre strategy and where they are at with it. 21 car there has disappeared, I'm afraid, so I hope that's not a... I'm afraid there might have been a disconnection there. We saw it just fading out, and I do think there's been a disconnection for the 21. And that could be the end of the races into the pit. Oh no, we got it back, fortunately. Although it's into the pit lane for Corey Brecker finally. A long old stint on those tyres, not even able to go halfway in this race, but he's given it a good go, and so now every driver in the field has indeed made a pit stop in this race, and so that puts everybody where they need to be, where they should be, and we'll see how these battles really develop now. You've seen with these cars that really came in early and got that little bit of pace, like Trent Dinkle compared to Joshua Daniels. He got 5 seconds over the 77, and the gap's not really coming down because their tyres are so similar. Pitting in as early as possible has proved to be very beneficial very beneficial indeed, I should say, and something worth bearing in mind, something worth remembering for this final round of stops. Pit in as early as possible, and you might just see it come back to reward you a little bit later on. Also gives you that bit of track position, of course, as well, which can be beneficial to try and hold on to. Josh Daniels trying to do that right now with Richard Reagan Jr. once again going out of the blocks exceptionally quickly. Hopefully not too quickly. But you get the feeling that last time it was as much to do with the tyres as it was to do with the fact that once one car got down the inside, it's difficult to get back into line, and then the train just keeps on coming. That may have been the case for Reagan on that last run, but he's having no such problems now. 4th on the road, applying the pressure to the 77 of Josh Daniels, the overall points leader in the 2022 Precision Racing League NASCAR Cup Series standings. He is in the playoffs as well because of that points tally. One of 7 drivers at the moment going to get their way through on points. He must be pretty close to actually confirming that already, and we'll try and, as I said earlier, we'll try and keep you updated on all of that throughout the season as well. One more rule that's worth actually noting in that race for the playoffs is that you have to have completed 20 out of the 30 races in the first 3 seasons of 2022. You can't just turn up for one race and win it and then get into the playoffs straight away. You do have to have done 20 of the 30 races. So Taylor Stout has won a race, but only did season 1 so far. So it doesn't look like he's going to be able to get enough races in. So he won't be winning and straight in. And Joseph Hurgard as well won't have completed enough races either. However, he's not actually that far from getting his way in through points. So we'll have to keep an eye on that throughout the season. Of course, every battle, Taylor, very important. Every point matters. Every position is a point. Standard NASCAR procedure. Big fan of it as well, by the way, in terms of commentators' maths.
Makes it very
useful. Yes, very simple for us.
Very simple, very easy for us to keep track of the point standings here as we watch on this battle for position between the 84 of Waldo Walden, James Dewar, as well in the 55 machine, and I believe also No, actually, that's the 21 machine right there. That's Eric Hag and Luke Christensen. My bad. So as we watch this battle, this is going to be good to watch here because this is for the battle for 12th position. As they head back over into turn number 1, you have, of course, a couple of other drivers like Pat Harvey and Robert Bissaut Jr. who are looking to try to see if they can have a shot of moving into the playoffs.
Yeah, Luke Christian trying to do exactly that at the moment. He's the first driver just outside of that bubble in the 21 at the moment. Eric Papineau is 9 points ahead of him as Richard Reagan Jr. makes his way down the inside at the final turn. But Luke Christian is only 9 points away from Eric Papineau for that final spot inside the playoffs. At the moment, he would actually overtake Papineau as a result of this race because Eric has had to come in and make a second stop already, and he's dropped down the order quite dramatically because of that. So I'm not sure why there would have been such an early stop because, you know, as we saw earlier, taking the tyres 37 laps to the end is not ideal at all.
No, it certainly is not, and we're really seeing that here right now with some of the competitors that we saw that decided to stay out on the track for a long period of time, and we'll see how it affects them when they get later into the run here. But for drivers like Corey Precker, who, you know, are struggling now, they're already a lap down on the field, so this is going to make it even difficult for them to get a shot of winning this race or even a strong finish.
Yeah, it's very much needed at this point. This end of the season. James O'Brien, by the way, just distracted by James O'Brien, losing a bit of pace at the moment. Nearly 5 seconds now away from Trent Dinkle. I just wonder whether he's touched the wall somewhere in the 33 because he's very suddenly lost a real load of time. And now the 56 of Richard Reagan Jr. is on the back of him as well as these fights going on a little bit further down in the order. This is still the 21 of Christian on the back of Eric Haag at the moment. He'll also be gaining points on Mike Witt as well. Just a few for Christian, but it certainly won't hurt at this stage. But that battle for second is starting to get very close, and a big concern for James O'Brien because if you do touch the wall around here, it does cost you quite dramatically.
Ooh, how about this send right now of Richard Reagan to the inside of James O'Brien. Ooh, gets a little bit close to the wall right there for O'Brien now as he has to come off, almost makes contact with Richard Reagan Jr. As they head down the front straightaway, Daniels, Acosta, and Chris Hudson watches on as they head back into turn 1, and Reagan will try and clear Daniels or O'Brien out of turn number 1 and will complete the pass just about and shut the door right in front of him.
Very nice move. Completed through turn 1, signed, sealed, and finally has that one in second place. James O'Brien will try and not let that get any worse. Trying to just look at his car at the moment to see if there is any damage. I don't think there is. He just is losing that little bit of time. Josh Daniels is right on the back, and now here comes Abner Acosta, Chris Hudson. A tighter line out of the final turn for the 77, and here comes Josh Daniels down the home straight. Should have the low line into turn 1, if indeed this lap car doesn't have anything to say about it, because that could certainly spice things up. Here we go, Daniels sends it on the low line, very nearly sends it straight into the side of O'Brien, who does a nice run around the outside on the high side and retains the place.
But Acosta really sending it down to the bottom of the racetrack, trying to get a good run on on Daniels, along with that number 35 of Corey Precker in order to try to get around the lap traffic. Chris Hudson watches on as they come out of the tunnel turn. Don't want to really go 2x2 into the tunnel turn. It's just so tricky as Precker really brave move right there, but not a very, I have to say, smart move trying to get in front of our leaders here who are trying to negotiate around him.
He wanted to get out of the way, didn't fancy the outside line there, wanted the low line, and just broke immediately. Got out of the way of these guys because it's a fierce battle. The 6 and the 45 are about to get involved as well. It's all about second place at the moment, and this fight, the outside line for Reagan Jr., who's so close to Chris Hudson, and it's wide for James O'Brien in the 33 with 3 wide off turn 1.
Still going to go 3 wide down the short chute, heading over into the tunnel turn. Who will be able to give way? Who will think better of it? You don't want to go 3 wide in the tunnel turn, but we're going to do it. Down into turn 2. Close contact. There's a bit of contact right there between Tyler Justice and Chris Hudson, but they make it through as you ride on board with Tyler Justice.
You always fear for the driver on the outside line, but in the end it was James O'Brien who came out on top in that one. Abner Acosta now finally puts him back to 5th, but Chris Hudson there with the inside line got so tight there on the low line that he nearly went sailing straight into the side of the cars alongside. And now the battles continue with Richard Reagan Jr. out of it because he comes down pit road to make the first stop for the end. Tyler Justice now sends it in. You can see the wheel work he's doing on the bottom left right hand side of your screen. He makes his way through on Chris Hudson, or at least tries to. Hasn't got that move completed. Contact! Oh, sliding down the straight, he gathers it up, but that was side to side contact on the run up towards turn 2.
He was not clear whatsoever in that scenario here, and he will now lose a couple of spots as his teammate Sean Powell will now get ahead of him as they head out of turn 2 over towards turn number 3. And now the question is going to be, since Richard Reagan is the first one to come down pit road out of this group of cars, who will be the next to blink? That's going to be Trent Dinkle. He's coming down pit road. O'Brien's coming down pit road. So now we're starting to see this second round of pit stops, which could be possibly the final round of pit stops here, because they're coming up now on 30 laps left to go in the race.
Yeah, it's a bit early, but they don't exactly want to split this into exact thirds. It's all about who's around you and who's likely to get a bit of pace on while you're out there on old tyres. Richard Reagan Jr. there with a smart choice to come in early here, but Trent Dinkle was very aware to it. Sorry, go on.
Trouble for James Bryan. He missed his pit box, had to back it up a little bit, so that's going to cost him valuable time.
Very painful mistake to make, and that could cost him a load of places, especially considering how close these guys were running and still are running. See, the new tyre advantage will help him, but that overshoot in the pit box might just negate any advantage he would have got from the tyres. Oh, it's contact with the 43, Chris Hudson, trying to get down pit road. I don't think the car behind of Tyler Justice realised, and so he was nearly sent straight around. That could have been our first caution of the day, but we stay green.
Big green indeed, as Sean Powell will lead the charge right now here as we have are getting ready to complete 50 laps as they come out of turn number 1. He has a 1.7 second advantage over his teammate Tyler Justice, with then Skip Gandy, Luke Christensen, who now has a gaggle of cars such as Robert Besaw Jr., Adam Zemke, Pat Harvey in this mix.
A great fight at the moment. 4th place for now, but it will not stay that way more than likely. Trent Dinkle did stay in front, by the way, of the likes of Richard Reagan Jr. You can see him there down in 15th position just for the moment. Josh Conqueror, by the way, out of the race from running in a top 10 position a little bit earlier on, which is a shame to see for him. But once again, the new tyres on the outside being illustrated down pit road as well for the 57. We've got the 45, along with the 6 and the 20, with also Adam Zemke in pit road at the moment. Still a few drivers to come in just yet, but for the moment Luke Christian actually managed to get to the lead of this race in the 21. But for the moment it's all about Trent Dinkle. There he is in the 9. He's got an advantage over the likes of Richard Reagan Jr. and it's still over 5 seconds. Another dominant display.
Another dominant display here as he's looking to take home another possible win this season. He's got still quite a little bit of work to do, as there's still a lot of racing left, under 30 laps to go here in this race, as we watch him work down the short chute over towards the tunnel turn, as he sits in the 9th position right now as we're waiting for the final or second round of pit stop cycles to complete.
It might take a while, because a lot of these drivers might well be able to go to the 10 or 20 laps if they want it. So there may well be a few late runners here. And of course, they'll all be, or some will be praying for a yellow flag, some will be praying that there isn't one. Will there be a caution here today at Pocono, or will we stay green? It doesn't tend to be, especially in real life, doesn't tend to be one of those races that is completely caution-filled and mired by cautions, but you certainly do notice it when they are, because of the long lap around here. Such a unique racetrack that offers up a different challenge at every single corner around here. No turn 4 as well, of course, as it's famously written on the wall. A great place to go NASCAR Cup racing, as we're demonstrating right now. There's Chris Hudson making his way down the inside of the 27 and up into 15th. It's all a bit all over the road at the moment. It's hard to know quite who is where, but it will shake out in a few moments' time, and it will shake out with Trent Dinkle in the lead. Richard Reagan Jr. should be second ahead of Josh Daniels, then Abner Acosta, James O'Brien and Sean Powell. You get the feeling James O'Brien really could have gained out of that pit stop cycle if he hadn't overshot his box.
He certainly would have, and it's going to be a big issue right here because O'Brien sits in 12th, and he is quite a ways back from the next several cars, which is Abner Acosta, who actually pitted before he did, or actually pitted after we saw James O'Brien pit. So it's going to be critical to see how this will work out and see if they're going to be able to work their way through, because now it's almost over a second separate the two drivers.
O'Brien is in, of course, in the playoffs as a result of his victory and the third round of season 2022, all the way back earlier on in this year. One of 9 drivers to have got themselves into the playoffs through victory in a race, and one of 11 drivers to have taken a win at all. Trent Dinkle will be able to take another win here. It would be his 5th of the season, and he'll close ever more onto Abner Acosta, who is leading in the win stakes anyway. And he'll close in as well. Even though we're only at the half distance, he'll close in on a potential championship as well in season 3 with Trent Dinkle. But there's a long way to go until then. A long way to go in this fight as well, as Abner Acosta is getting stronger as this race goes on in that number 5. He qualified well, fell back, and now he's looking a bit stronger again, looking and knocking on the door of what will become a top 3.
He's really putting the pressure on Joshua Daniels to try to get a possible podium finish here. He's got to get around him in order to make that work, as we're waiting for the rest of the field to determine when they will come down pit road. Some of these drivers didn't pit till about lap 30 or so, or after the lap 30, so we couldn't see these drivers stay out for another 5 to 7 or 8 laps here. So going to be interesting to see how this strategy plays out for our competitors, such as Trent Dinkle, Richard Reagan Jr., Daniels, or Acosta.
They'll certainly be having their longest run of the race with this set of tyres, and Abner Acosta making use of them at the moment. You can just see the way that car was able to stick to the yellow line a little bit more than we saw for the 77. So Acosta might just smell blood in the water here. A lap car as well, well, not a lap car, but Charles Sumner on the older tyres running in front as well. We go on board with the 5, and it's a good opportunity to have a bit of a lap on board here at Pocono and really get a feel for what these guys are contending with at this tricky circuit. Turn 1, of course, the most banked of the 3. And just learning how to race around here as well is a challenge of its own.
It certainly is, Ewan, as we are now coming down the short chute over towards the turn 2 based off of the famous Indianapolis Motor Speedway. 8 degrees of banking. You really want to try to sail it in there, not utilize any brake whatsoever, unless you have to check up a little bit on competitors as you're right behind Joshua Daniels. And now we're heading down the Long Pond straight over towards turn number 3 based off of course, the Milwaukee Mile. A little bit of a flatter corner here, but you're able to carry that momentum. You want to try to track out here just before you get to the main straight and get on that pit wall. Watch out, though, for the car to get a little tail happy coming off of turn 3.
Try and run up as close to that wall as possible as well to maximise the run, as we just saw from Daniels and Reagan. They'll fight it out into one, but it's not going to be much of a contest. Josh Daniels is into second place, and Richard Reagan Jr. once again, after a strong start to this run, just falls back, and Abner Acosta's going to fancy his chances now. looking with the nose into turn 2, but he'll stay behind for now. Josh Daniels, though, second place for the 77, or will be second place, I should say. We're still waiting for 2 cars to pit.
We are still indeed waiting for a couple of more cars to pit. Actually make it, I'd say about 5 or 6 cars, but at least 2 inside the top 5 at this time. So we'll see how this will play out. That is currently Eric Hagg and Clayton Ham, as Trent Dinkle is able to get around Clayton and sets his sights on Eric Hagg, who's about 6 seconds up the road.
And Clayton already involved with this fight. There he is in the 7. He'll just stay on his own line here, and the 77 of Josh Daniels will make his way on the high side all the way around. And everybody going to do the same. The 56 and the 5 follow through. But it all gets very close, and now Abner Acosta may just sense an opportunity. Although he once again decides not to head down the inside. Very close to the back of the 56 again. No way through, and with no pit stops remaining, it's going to be more than 20 laps of a straight fight between these 3 for 2nd, 3rd and 4th, and maybe even further down than that as well, depending on who catches them based on this. The 45 of Sean Powell's not too far behind, for example, with Chris Hudson as well.
Yeah, Sean Powell is right there as he gets around Clayton Ham for position. He's got Tyler Justice, Chris Hudson not too far either as they head back into turn 1. Acosta, Reagan, and Daniels, 3 drivers who are trying to see if they can find a way to catch up to our new, soon-to-be race leader, Trent Dinkle, who's now about 5 seconds up the road.
Running away with another race, Trent Dinkle. A potential 5th victory of 2022. Coming up for the 9 car. Abner Acosta just a little bit wide, high and wide through turn 2, but once again employs that high line to get a smoother run off of the final turn, and maybe a chance at a pass into turn 1. He's not really where he needs to be, although could just send it anyway. Josh Daniels stays out of the slipstream for Richard Reagan, and here comes Acosta. Low line into 1, sends it in deep, although he's only going to be door to door with the 56. They're going to be neck and neck out of the corner. Sean Powell definitely here as well. Acosta's going to struggle here on that outside line, and here comes Powell. He's going to make his way through. Acosta could find himself down in 6th again here.
He is really going to try to struggle right now as we see Sean Powell get a great run out of the tunnel turn as they come down towards turn number 3, as he'll try to look to the outside, take the long way around, but that's actually where some of the better grip is, and you get that momentum to carry you off corner exit here. The inside lane is good for also making passes, but just try to make that momentum. Ooh, as he hits the wall off of turn 3.
In the wall for Sean Powell in the 45, and we spoke about how much and how eagerly you'd want to avoid that, especially through turn 3 as you're getting the run onto the home stretch, but there it is. Into the wall for the 45, and it doesn't look like it's affected him too much, has to be said. He makes his way on the high side through turn 1 anyway and makes the pass.
Certainly be the case right here as we watch them work down and straight away. Now we have some teammate working right now between Powell and Reagan Jr. as they head back into the tunnel turn. Let's see if they can then work together to try to get around Joshua Daniels for a podium position.
Wow, look at that from Powell. A much lower line out of the 2nd turn and into the final turn and into what is 4th place at the moment. It's going to turn to 3rd for the 45. What has Sean Powell put into this car for the final stint of this race, because all of a sudden he is a real contender here, and Joshua Daniels is very much looking in his mirrors and thinking about how he can defend at this stage, but there's a long way to go to be defending quite this hard, and Powell looks difficult to really hold back at the moment.
Ooh, Daniels really trying to break the trap away from Powell in order to stay ahead of him in that 2nd place, or soon to be 2nd place, when Eric comes down pit road.
When will he come down pit road is another question, I suppose. Lap 62 at the moment. Surely it's got to be quite soon for the 89, but Sean Powell for the moment, not worried about any of that. Well, and here he comes, Eric Hogg, but not worried about any of that. just wants to make his way through on the Love Racing 77. Because Joshua Daniels trying to help his team out in the team standings, as well as help himself to the driver's title, which he, of course, won in Season 1, despite not winning a single race. Powell going to the high side, running back down low, and another run into turn 2. Is this going to be the move? Maybe. It's his best opportunity so far. Looks to the outside, but there won't be a move here on this occasion. He'll have to continue to wait here.
Have to wait a little bit longer here, but Powell really putting the pressure on Joshua Daniels as they head down over towards turn number 3 now. Gap is about 4.7 seconds for him and Trent Dinkle. So now that Powell has gotten past the driver of Joshua Daniels, let's see what Powell can do in order to catch up to Trent Dinkle. He's coming up to 15 laps to go here, and he was a 10th faster last time by. So this is going to be an interesting fight to the finish.
Nearly 5 seconds. Just over 15 laps to go. He's going to need about a third of a second a lap to do anything about Trent Dinkle, but very hard to see that happening here at this stage. It's certainly under Trent Dinkle's control at the moment, the way this race is going. With just in behind these two, Richard Reagan Jr. and Abner Acosta still fighting it out. Then we've got Justice, Hudson, O'Brien, Cervantes in a 4-car battle over 6th place. So everybody just about filtered out to where they're supposed to be. No more pit stops to come unless we get a caution, and then in which case everybody will be diving in for tyres, as we've already seen. But that's not really a consideration until we get a caution, if we do at all.
Yeah, it's going to be the question is if we're going to see a caution. I'm not going to say it to where we don't get a hashtag blame Taylor moment here on RaceSpotTV. We already have enough people that we have to blame when it comes to certain things like that. But in the meantime, as we watch the field work their way out of turn 1 down into tunnel turn, Acosta looks to the inside of Richard Reagan, not able to make anything work this time around. But looking at the times, it's kind of just plateaued. Sean Powell's not really making any ground on our race leader, Trent Dinkle.
It's hard to see him closing that big of a margin. Joshua Daniels, for whatever reason, is struggling a little bit. Oh, and there we go. The caution comes out for the first time tonight. Lap 65, 15 to go. We are going to get a fast and frantic finish here at Pocono as the caution comes out for the first time today.
Kind of trying to figure out who it was, because I see Lou Christensen on the pit road. What did he... Oh. Well, that's... That is a way to do it.
Well, for what reason did he have to leave quite so suddenly is my first question.
Same.
But yeah, it's very unfortunate that a caution has been brought out as a result of that, because yeah, one of those weird things really that has just happened. I'm afraid. Obviously, it's a shame for especially Christian, who was having a good run and getting himself into the top 16 in the overall standings with the run he was having, but had to stop on the road quite so quickly and leave pretty immediately there. Well, it all makes Trent Dinkle's life a little bit more difficult to hit.
It certainly does. And we're going to have to really see how this is coming to play, and we'll see who comes down pit road.
Let's see. Now, this might be a clue. Trying to listen in here as well. Ah. Well. Okay.
Blow
Well,
the engine.
no, I thought there were two downshifts, and the second one was quite the revs went quite high, so I wondered maybe if it was a blown engine, but it didn't look like it at all, or didn't sound like it, certainly. Let's focus on this, though. What we do know at the moment is that pretty much everybody you've ever seen is on pit road right now. Everybody needs new tyres, but how many are you going to take? Is it going to be 2? Is it going to be 4? There are some 2 tyre gambles going on down the field, although I do think, I do think Trent Dinkle has got out in front of everybody as they slide their way out of the pit box. The 9 of Trent Dinkle makes his way out of pit road first. He wins the race off pit road, having taken 4 tyres. Who has taken 2? Who has taken none and stayed out? I don't know if anybody actually has stayed out at all, actually. But Trent Dinkle certainly has retained his lead. There's no doubt about that.
Looking to see who took 2 tires. Eric Hag and Tyler Justice seem to be the only ones who might have taken just 2 tires. Also, I'd have to say Clayton Ham, maybe just a drop of fuel and continue on.
And did anybody stay out as well in front of these guys? Let's have a look.
Yes, 3 cars did stay out by the looks of it. Robert Besaw Jr., Pat Harvey, and Waldo Walden.
Let's have a look and see how they get on. I mean, judging by what the tyre drop-off is and what we've seen so far, I mean, it's very hard to see, in my opinion, those guys actually holding on, especially with the amount of laps remaining. If there was 3 laps to go, you might give them a fighting chance, but with 13 laps to go as we go right now, and probably roughly 10 by the time we go back racing again, it's hard to see the old tyres really overcoming the new ones, surely.
I have to agree with you on that one, Ewan, as we'll see how that will come to play for these 3 drivers and see how quickly this could possibly cause a kerfuffle, I would have to say, when it comes to this, because we're going to have a lot of drivers with fresh tires, some with 2 tires, so this is going to really cause a lot of chaos.
And for those who are on the new tyres, of course, it's about picking your way through the chaos. It's not... there is certainly a skill to it, getting through on those with the older tyres. I think this situation, while it's not ideal for Trent Dinkle at all, he would have liked this race to go green right till the very end. This situation is still better, I think, than having him lead and the new tyre guys be straight behind him straight away. If he gets a good run in these opening corners, he can get away from his main rivals, those other drivers who took 4 tyres. He can get away from, if he plays his cards right, he can put some distance between himself and the likes of Josh Daniels early on in this run. But of course, it's much easier said than done. This is going to be a hard restart for him, especially.
Very hard restart, but this just makes it all the more exciting, Ewan, to see how this will play out for all these competitors here as they get themselves lined up.
Towards turn 3 on the pace lap, and the pace car will be pulling its way in at the end of this one, and we'll have 12 laps of racing to go here at Pocono. We will still get all of those, by the way, within the time limit we have here today. So that is all good news. It's going to be enthralling action as well to watch. Through turn 3. No tyres, 2 tyres, 4 tyres. All 3 options have been taken on by these teams. The green flag is in hand once again for 12 laps of wild racing at Pocono. We're underway once again. How are these 4-tyre runners going to slip their way through the traffic early on into turn 1? We go once again. It's the outside line very much prevailing at the moment. They fan out 3 and 4 wide. We dive our way into the banking. And where are these guys all going to end up? You see Chris Hudson right on the middle of 3 wide at the moment, coming off of turn 1. It's frantic back in the mid-pack. There's darting and weaving everywhere. Josh Daniels in the 77 having to go a little bit defensive from Abner Acosta as well on the outside into turn 2. Trent Dinkle already makes his way up to 2nd place in the 9 car, and here he comes into turn 3, inside line for the lead.
He's going to try to send it in on turn number 3. He's got Tyler Justice right there behind him, who's going to follow suit as they come out of turn number 3. Allen to the front straightaway here. It's still going to be a battle for second between Besaw and Tyler Justice. Throwing Waldo Walden in 4th position as they come across the start-finish line. Great racing action as we got 3 wide down the front stretch.
3 wide it is. And it's Josh Daniels who's stuck in the middle of it at the moment and can't see a way out. He's going to get blocked slightly by Eric Haag there with the older tyres, and so he can't quite get the run that he wanted. He's got Sean Powell on the outside line, although that's now Abner Acosta's problem, and one that he's not really dealt with. Oh, a big block from Acosta in the 5 car. And Daniels will have to go around the outside through 2, but it's not worked at all. Danny Cervantes makes his way down the inside of the 77.
This is gonna get exciting here as they now start to try to fan out 3 wide almost as they come out of turn number 3. Out of turn 3 they'll go. Dinkel still holds on to the race lead. Justice really trying to put the pressure on as they come out of turn number 3. Down the front straightaway, just jockeying for positions as we see the 89 of Eric Haag getting a great run around Robert Besaw Jr. As we see a couple of cars try to slide around. Not gonna work. Besaw sends it in deep.
You see the 3, the 89, the 84, all of them with the older tyres and getting in the way as far as the guys on 4 tyres are concerned. It's Dinkel versus Justice for the lead in this one, and they look like they're going to contest it between themselves, but behind, this is where the excitement is. Look at Danny Cervantes almost trying to make it 3 wide on the inside of Abner Acosta there. Thinks better of it, certainly, and Acosta might be having a 3 wide moment of his own here as we're almost getting one into the final turn. This is frantic racing. Acosta looks, he sticks his nose down there, but he won't do it just for the moment. Eric Haag just really stays in that 3rd place and defends well. We're 3 wide once again.
Great racing action here at Poconos. We're going to go 3. Will we see 4 wide here as they head towards turn number 1? Not going to do it this time. They're going to go still stay 3 wide. Joshua Daniels shows the nose here as you watch Sean Powell along with the 25 of Cervantes and Robert Besaw Jr. make it out of turn 1. Sean Powell picking up a 2-for-1 special there.
Well, a great fighting between these drivers. And Eric Haag is holding on well here. I have to say, I thought these guys were going to get eaten alive in the opening 2 laps, but they're holding on nicely. Josh Daniels now in an aggressive move down the low line of turn 2. He's made it work and he's up to 6th place, although Chris Hudson is coming with a head of steam now on the low line as well. He's got his way through on Danny Cervantes, you can see on the outside line, and Robert Besaw Jr. just struggling on the high side with those older tyres, and he's going to let possibly a whole load of drivers through here. Cervantes, Kip Gandy is there as well as Walden, who's falling back at the same rate, and this is great racing going on in the pack now. Oh, there's contact in the background, there's a spinner, there's one in the wall. We've got our 2nd caution. Once again, we're going to have very few laps to go before the end. It's Richard Reagan Jr. who found himself right in the mid-pack, and this is the danger of it. He finds himself in the wall and with a lot of damage.
Looking at the time right now, it's 15 minutes left to go in this race, so it's going to be close to see if we're even going to get to finish this race, as we'll see what happens here. But we'll get a look at this replay to see what happened with Richard Reagan.
I have a feeling that the 56 was trying to move across to the left on the home straight there, and there was a car alongside and it wasn't clear and contact was made. Here we go. Oh, it's hard to tell. But from that one initial viewing, I do think the 56 just came up off the wall and into the side of the car alongside, and unfortunately ends up in the wall. But a real shame for Richard Reagan Jr., who's been on our screens for a lot of this evening and been entertaining us, of course, with overtakes and battles throughout the race. Have a look from this angle. For me, Richard Reagan does slightly move up into the side. I mean, it's very small differences there, but the small differences do make the difference, as it were. The fine margins make the difference, and unfortunately, it's ended in disaster for the 56, and that's going to be a fairly hefty repair.
It certainly is, as Luke Christensen has retired the car. James Stewart also retired the car as well. It's safe to say, I believe Richard Reagan will be retiring this car with how much severe damage it is to that car.
It's a hard hit to the left-hand side. And there'll be repairs going on at the moment. Now, pit road will be open this time. 6 laps to go as we run right now. Under 15 minutes remaining on the clock. There's a lot to think about here, but I think if you're Trent Dinkel, you don't come in. If you're back in the pack, You definitely will do. But what is the call here from these drivers? Who comes in and who does not? And how many tyres do you take once you're in? Well, none of the real leaders coming in just yet. A lot of faking going on, and now finally we're seeing some stops.
Yeah, we're starting to see a couple of drivers towards the back half of the field. I say outside the top 10 are coming down pit road at this time to maybe get a little bit of fresh tires, possibly utilize that final set of tires in order to go back out there and maybe pick up a couple of extra spots.
A couple of drivers stayed out there even after having seen a couple of drivers in front go into the pit lane, which really doesn't happen very often. But some people clearly thinking that staying out there on the older tyres is going to be a lot more beneficial. And they might well be right. Now 5 laps to go at the line. I mean, it's going to be a real dash to the line anyway, but is the timer going to really play a factor in this one? It really could be 1 or 2 laps when we go green here.
It certainly can be. I'm looking at the time right now. Currently, we're approaching 10 minutes left to go in this session. So, just looking at about 1:40, close to 2 minutes on. It's a lap here. It's going to be 10 minutes to go. So, we may or may not get the full distance. It will be so close.
I mean, if we went green this lap, we would need only less than 5 minutes. So, it's not like we need a very long green flag run to end off this race. However, as we've already alluded to, the pace laps here are quite long, and they do take up quite a bit of time due to the length of this circuit. So that will have to be factored in by Trent Dinkle as well as everybody else. He'll be leading here and he'll have the inside line, but will he be able to hold on? He had the likes of Sean Powell not too far behind. Tyler Justice has been making a bit of progress. But is he going to have this race win snatched away from him? There's no doubt about the fact that Dinkle deserves to win this race, but with the kind of strange things that happen with late cautions, you never ever know in a Cup Series race. The lights go off on top of the pace car, and we're going to get our restart very soon.
Going to get exciting here in these closing stages. See who will come out on top with this event here as we are closing it out here tonight.
2 by 2 for the drivers again. We'll be going green at the end of this lap. It's going to be Trent Dinkle versus Tyler Justice on the front row, with some of those guys who didn't even come in under that first caution still involved up towards those real top positions here in this race. Got the 89 of Eric Karg just behind the leader. And then Abner Acosta is on the outside line there in the 4th place. So teammates been separated out ever so slightly, but that won't be too much of a factor, I don't think. He will look to try and gain some points on his teammate though. He'll like to get in front with Acosta, as anybody would. Either way, through towards turn 3. There are 4 laps remaining here at Pocono. We do have the time remaining to complete them as well. So let's hope for a nice clean and green run to the flag. But most importantly, an exciting run. And that it will certainly be. Trent Dinkle has controlled this race. He's dominated it. But these last few laps have been anything but. The control's gone out the window. There's only 4 laps to go at Pocono, and we are going to go green once again. The 9 car in control, and it's going to get the jump on the field. Outside line for the 6 of Tyler Justice, trying to keep tabs on that one at the moment. Into turn 1. Is he going to be able to stay close enough through here on the high line?
Gonna be close as they come out of turn number 1. Dinkle with a great run off corner exit. Justice really trying to put the pressure on as they head down over towards the tunnel turn. As Abner Acosta, Joshua Daniels really get a great run down there as well. They're gonna try to move up. A little bit of bump drafting happening also before they get to the tunnel turn.
A lot of bumping and barging going on through into turn 2, but everybody makes it their way through nicely in the end. It's Dinkle, Justice, Acosta and Daniels, the top four, with Eric Haag just losing out on a place or two through those opening exchanges. We're 3 wide through the turn 3 in the background, and they all make it through. It's single file though out the front, 3 to go. As we go, we're 4 wide in the background.
4 wide racing here. You doesn't get better than this as here at Pocono as they head back into turn 1 and 2.
Oh.
Trouble though, one car on the wall. That's going to be Lovings, and as well as the 26 of Mike Witt. And I think it's safe to say that will end the race.
That will be it. Mike Witt involved certainly in the 26. It was always going to happen. 4 wide down the home straight. Was never ever going to work into turn 1, and I'm afraid we've certainly seen that. Trent Dinkle, we believe, will be able to take this one home from this point and take another victory in the Precision Racing League NASCAR Cup Series. This is how the caution got brought out.
Oh,
Mike
that's
Witt is
James
the one on
O'Brien.
the inside. It's James O'Brien. James O'Brien's on the inside there, and he's diving it very deep into the corner.
Yeah, he's right down there on the bottom of the racetrack. We're right on board with him and has to check up, and
Well,
a little bit of contact right
connected
there.
a bit. They get a little bit connected, the two cars, and it does not make things easy. Now then, as you can see in the top left-hand side of your screen, we now have 81 laps on the clock, if you like, because of the green-white checker format. We do get 1 attempt in the Precision Racing League NASCAR Cup Series. However, I don't know how the timer plays into that. Which one has priority? Does the green-white checker, can it outlast the timer, or will the timer have a hard end to this race? That's the question, because these are two. Obviously, we've seen these things in isolation in iRacing, or personally I have before, of course. However, I don't know what happens when the two of them run up against each other. So, we're about to find out, I suppose, but Trent Dinkle's job might not just be done yet.
Certainly, indeed, not done yet at all as we keep an eye on this, because this is going to get really interesting between these competitors here. Right now, we're closing in on 5 minutes left to go in this session. So we are really going to be close to see how this will happen. If they get the 1 to go here, we might be able to make it work.
Now, let's see. We are certainly running out of time, though, here with this race. I think the lights are going to go off this pit road this time, by the looks of things. So we still have 2 laps to go. It's extending that one out, and we've got another 2 laps of caution here as well. So, if I'm not mistaken, that is going to run us into the end of the time. Another 2 laps of caution here. But will we get those couple of laps of green-white checker? I'm not entirely sure whether the time will override that, or whether the overtime, if you like, will override the time limit.
Going to be interesting to see how this will play out here as we'll watch and see, and we'll determine if we'll get to have a green-white checkered finish, or we're going to finish under caution here tonight. It's going to be really close, I can tell you that much.
It is going to be close. Trent Dinkle, of course, searching for his 3rd win of this season, which is only 5 races old. And 5th of 2022. With Tyler Justice not far behind him. Trying to get his first of season 3. And indeed his first, I believe, of the season as well in 2022. I think it is indeed. But will he even get the opportunity to go for that at this point? We really just do not know for the moment. Looks like the green-white checker will take place, I'm being told. So that's kind of in spite of the time limit, which is coming up very soon. The pace car, though, about to make its way over the line for the penultimate time. The lights will go off, And we will have 2 laps to go. Only 1 attempt. So the next, well, whether we get a caution at the end of this or a checkered flag, we will see the end of the race at the end of lap 83. We will just ever so slightly go over time here. However, it will hopefully be worth it with these 2 laps. For the most part, the strategy in the no tyres, 2 tyres, all of that's mostly out the way now. It's the top drivers on 4 tyres racing against each other for just 2 laps around here.
And that is going to be exciting to watch here. These drivers have put on a phenomenal show all race long. Probably one of the best races we've seen this season so far in the 5 races for the PRL Cup Series here on RaceSpot.
A really long opening green flag run. And then 3 cautions in the final quarter of the race. Just really brought a stop-start nature to it, but cautions breed cautions, and we've certainly seen that. Hopefully we don't see another one before the end here, because there is not long to go. Will Tyler Justice be able to take a win here? He's a long way down in the standings, of course, having only competed in Season 3 so far this season. So far in this year, I should say. Season 3 so far in 2022. But now would be a perfect time for a race win. Through turn 3 they go. And once again, Trent Dinkle is in charge of the field, as he have been on multiple occasions before. It's green-white checkered time. Only 1 attempt here at Pocono. The green flag is in the air, and Trent Dinkle versus Tyler Justice commences towards turn 1. The 6th car gets a great run down the home straight on the high line. Will he be able to do much about the 9 car, but just below him at the moment? He squeezes as much as possible. Dinkle runs out wide into the side of him. Abner Acosta is going to fancy his chances here as well. He's going to make it 3 wide, is he? Or is he going to push Dinkle? He will push the 9 car alongside the 6. They rub panels down the straight into 2. Joshua Daniels is here as well. Trent Dinkle will hold on, but just Tyler Justice is going to go down fighting here as Abner Acosta also makes his way to the inside, 4th, 2nd position.
He's going to really try to send it in deep through the middle of turns 3. Out of turn number 3 they go. Caution is out. That will do it.
There it is. Abner Acosta won't get that 2nd place from Tyler Justice. The 6th car was just able to hold on to that one. The final lap, the white flag is waved, and it's going to be a lap of honour for Trent Dinkle, who will take his 5th win of 2022. This is what happened further behind. Oh, Corey Precker gets connected here with one of the... that's Mike Witt again, I think.
Hard
and multiple cars involved.
Probably one of the hardest hits we've seen in PRL competition with that contact by Corey Precker.
A very hard hit, but thankfully it's not real, so we're all right.
Yeah.
But Corey Precker, not with an ideal end to that race. It will fit Trent Dinkle just fine, though, in that number 9 car. He'll take another race victory in a remarkable Season 3 of 2022, which has seen him finished in the top 2 in the last 4 races. He drove well at Sonoma, but didn't have the result to show for it. He'll have a chance to alleviate those road course demons next time out at Indianapolis, as we see the incident between Witt and Precker. The two of them getting connected, and Precker being sent into the wall. Another couple of drivers joining him as well. But Dinkle will extend his championship lead. Joseph Hurgard not here today, but Joshua Daniels certainly was. He finishes a few positions behind. Trent Dinkle's championship lead will now be nearly 30 points. And at the halfway mark, he has stamped his authority on this one. It's victory at Pocono for Trent Dinkle. Unfortunately under caution, but he was the deserving winner, and he will be in victory lane.
what a drive by Trent Dinkle here tonight in order to get the win as he goes to celebrate this victory. A very dominant performance by that number 9 machine.
He's never normally one for punching the air with wild excitement, but certainly possibly the calmest we've ever seen from him today in terms of that celebration, because he will have known that was coming for a few minutes now with that race ending under caution. We'll get our race results up for you here in a few moments time and start off with a few drivers' interviews, of course, before we bid you farewell here on RaceSpotTV tonight after another great race here in the Precision Racing League NASCAR Cup Series. Trent Dinkle makes his way to the start-finish line once again, and we'll be able to see some donuts. There they are. Donuts and a burnout and everything in between for Trent Dinkle, who will just enjoy this moment as a moment he's very much getting used to here in the NASCAR Cup Series. In the end, taking a narrow victory, it will look like on the results sheet, but it was a convincing one in terms of the pace throughout the race. Tyler Justice did well to get up into second place and held off Abner Acosta at the end. Joshua Daniels gets another top 5 ahead of Sean Powell in the 45. Tony Cervantes was 6th ahead of Eric Haag with a great strategy call to get 7th. Chris Hudson 8th ahead of Skip Gandy and Eric Papineau, rounding out your top 10. In the 11th position was Adam Zemke. Then Elliot Butler in 12th. Barry McDonald we didn't see much of, ended up 13th, ahead of Robert Bissell Jr. Waldo Walden rounds out the top 15, ahead of Ricky Barbary. Charles Sumner was 17th, ahead of Pat Harvey, Mike Witt and Scotty Johnson, rounding out the top 20. And it was Steve Loving just outside of that. James O'Brien did finish on the lead lap in the end, but a lot lower than he was hoping for. Tom Massey at 23rd. Jose Medina the first car one lap down, with Corey Precker and Clayton Ham not completing those final couple of laps. Richard Reagan Jr. Bringing out that penultimate caution, finishes down in 27th. Luke Christian bringing out the first one, 28th. James Durr and Josh Conker were both out of the race from quite a long way out, as were Charles Guerra and Mark Kalin in our 32 car field. Well, we'll try and make time here to have a couple of interviews, mostly with the podium drivers, of course, and Tyler Justice is already waiting for us, so hopefully we'll be able to bring him in and have a bit of a chat now with the driver that finished in second place here today. Tyler, can you hear us? Can we hear you?
Yes, sir. I got you.
Welcome to the commentary booth. Good to have you here after that great second place drive for you today. Talk us through that last quarter of the race or so, though, because it was crazy with the cautions and very different to the first half of the race. Was it kind of difficult to get used to the stop-start racing in the end?
Yeah, a little bit. We started off, behind the 8 ball from the beginning. I kind of just messed up qualifying, just didn't anticipate the grip level good enough and wasn't able to put a qualifying lap down, so I had to start in the back. And me and my teammate Sean were working our way up through there pretty good, and it went green forever there, and went through two cycles of pit stops, and we're sitting somewhere around 7th when that caution finally came out. And I told myself, Sean was in second, I think, at that point, and he was in good position to try to do something with Trent. So I was going to go off strategy to give ourselves, two different options to try to win the race. So I took 2 tires. And I feel like I lost the race in pit road because I slid through the box, and I took 2 tires, but I came out second because I slid through the box and wasn't able to get control of the race. And inevitably, I think that's what won it. But 2 tires was definitely the way to go, I feel like, because I had a lot more turn in the car, a lot more maneuverability. So that was good. And then I couldn't outduel Trent there. I got a good restart on the last restart and edged out in front of him coming out of turn 1, but he had his teammate there and was able to push him back by me there. And then coming out of 3, the caution came out and ended the race. So we gave it all we had. I mean, pretty decent result for starting in the back. So I'm happy with it. Just got to get one spot better next week.
Absolutely, it was a great climb through the field from you. Of course, next week being the Indianapolis road course, we've got to talk about it briefly. How are you feeling about it? It's so different, but how are you feeling about it going forward?
Yeah, you're definitely right about that. It's different for sure. I love road courses. I've always loved road courses. There's a few guys in here that are a bit better than me at it, but we'll definitely put in the work. Sonoma was okay. We finished like 9th at Sonoma, but we had a multitude of incidents in that race too. So just got to get a clean race there, and definitely put in the practice this week and see what we got.
We look forward to seeing you there in 1 week's time, Tyler. For now, though, congratulations on a good run and second place here tonight. Congratulations.
Thank you, sir.
Thanks very much. Tyler Justice there, second place here today at Pocono. Now let's have a quick chat to Trent Dinkle, shall we? Because he is now waiting for us as race winner here tonight. Trent joining us now in the commentary booth. Welcome. Once again, it's another victory here in Season 3 of 2022. Things are going quite well for you at the moment. Is this possibly more pleasing than the previous ones? Are you surprised, or are you just pleased that you've managed to execute once again?
I mean, it's been a lot of practice. I've been running a lot of practice laps. Obviously, the start of the race wasn't very good. I didn't qualify very good, so then I was in the pack and trying to save tire, but also not get freight train to the back was a struggle. And then I got the lead and kind of kept driving away. And I mean, I'm glad I still won, but when those cautions came out, I was nervous because I knew Tyler was super fast and he was probably going to have a pretty good shot at getting around. But, Abner helped me out on that last restart a ton, and we were able to get by him for the win.
Well, you're getting quite good at leading these restarts now. You're getting a lot of practice anyway. Just how difficult were those final couple of ones, though? Because we had, loads of cautions in just the last 15, 20 laps.
Yeah, there was. I mean, it's kind of how officials were, and I would be leading the officials, and then the cautions would come out, and I would just gradually keep falling back. But, like I said, Abner on that last restart helped me a ton, because once again, Tyler got an amazing restart against me. And then, I just had to hold my line on the bottom and hope that he overdrove it and I could drive out in front of him. And then Abner pushed me back down the first backstretch into 2. And, it worked out.
Certainly did. And another great race victory for you, Trent. Congratulations on that one. Thanks very much for coming to join us.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
Thanks very much. There we are. Trent Dinkle, race victory once again here at Pocono here this evening. One final interview to come here tonight, and it is, of course, with Abner Acosta, who comes home third on the night. Abner, welcome to the commentary box as well. Good to have you here. We've been talking a lot about that final restart. It was eventually the deciding one, as it always tends to be in those final couple of laps. You were giving Tyler Justice a real hard time of things, but weren't able to quite get that second place. Just talk us through those final couple of laps.
The last restart, it was pretty much I had a choice to either push Trent or push Tyler, and obviously Trent's my teammate. So I just gave him the little push for it, and if I would have gotten one more lap, maybe I would have tried something, but a good finish overall for the team, for the private label squad, with Trent finishing first and me third. So, just pushed them to the front, and then that yellow just came out, and we were able to get one in third. So, pretty good finish.
It was certainly a pretty good finish for you guys. And looking ahead, there's maybe some good opportunities for you guys up in towards the next few rounds as well. Indianapolis road course coming up next week. We weren't unfortunately able to see you at the first road course of the season, which was a shame, but hopefully we'll be able to next week. How are you feeling about those that race and the next couple moving forward with this season?
Yeah, definitely looking forward to it. Kind of sad that I missed the first road course. But yeah, definitely not missing this one. So definitely going to put in some practice and try to get my first win of the season here. So we'll see.
We very much look forward to seeing you there, Abner. But for now, enjoy and congratulations on third place here tonight. And we'll see you very soon.
Thank you, guys. Have a good night.
Thanks very much. Abner Acosta there, third place here at Pocono tonight. Well, that is it, Taylor. We've had a great night of racing at what is a great circuit for racing here, the Tricky Triangle. Obviously, so unique, so difficult, so well suited to these NASCAR Cup cars, but producing the great racing here once again. And we're going to see some more of that coming up in the future as well, because in 1 week's time, it's the Indianapolis Road Course. Half 8 ET once again on July the 31st. That's exactly the same place, exactly 1 week from now. So make sure you join us for that here on RaceSpotTV. Of course, more Precision Racing League action coming up a little bit later on this week. Indeed, most of the days this week, actually, starting in just 24 hours time. So make sure you join us and keep abreast of everything going on here at RaceSpotTV through the social media channels, etc, etc, so you can never miss a Precision Racing League event, or indeed any other event that we will be bringing to you here. That's just about it from us here tonight, though. What a great night of racing, but once again, it's another predictable winner. Trent Dinkle once again on top here at Pocono. 3 on the season for him now. Will anybody be able to stop him in 1 week's time at Indianapolis? Find out next time at the Precision Racing League NASCAR Cup Series. For now, though, I've been Neil O'Leary alongside Taylor Burris. Tyler Maxson has been behind the cameras here for this evening. And until we see you again in 1 week's time, it's goodbye for now.